Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, where the face of the franchise is Wendell Clark. Wendell Clark. No team had more players receive at least one vote than the Leafs. 7 different players in total. In fact, all 3 of us voted for different players. And in the end, Wendell Clark, again, is voted the face of the franchise. Now, let's check out the voter breakdown. As you see here on your screen, nobody won with a lower percentage than the 24% of votes picked up by Clark. Keon came in second, followed by Leafs greats Matt Sundin, Austin Matthews, Doug Gilmour, and Daryl Sittler. Johnny, you were a teammate of Wendell Clark. Roommate of Wendell Clark. Yet you didn't vote for Wendell Clark. So you tell me, why is Wendell the face of the franchise, and maybe why would you go a different direction?
I mean, why he is because he sort of embodied that. Oddly enough, Toronto, for the big city that it wants to be, really identifies with hardworking, blue-collar, physical, hard-on-your-sleeve kind of players. Nobody was more than Wendell. We've all met Wendell many times. He's not that big, and yet he played bigger and tougher and stuck up for his teammates more than anyone that you can remember for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He could score goals, he could fight, and yes, he was part of 2 teams that got all the way to the conference final there 2 years in a row. So I get why he is that choice. A lot of people associate him with the Leafs. And the Leafs haven't won in, almost 60 years now, so there's no Stanley Cup memories to draw from for most people. I picked Austin Matthews, and that's not recency bias. I think anyone would say the greatest offensive player to ever play for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Austin Matthews. When he is retiring, whether he leaves in 3 years or in 12 years, he will be the leading point getter, leading goal scorer, every possible record
He's got
for
the
franchise.
captaincy now, too.
He's the captaincy. His team has been one of the best teams in the league for 10 years. Yes, they haven't had playoff success, but guess what? No teams in the last 60 years have even been to the finals. So I can't fault him too much for that. He's the greatest player, and it's been a great run under his stewardship, so I picked Austin Matthews.
And I picked Dave Keon. And I mean, we start talking about Wendell. Keep in mind, Wendell came in during a period of time when it was dark days for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, he went out there like he was playing every game like it was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and people embraced that. And that's what Wendell is all about. Dave Keon, obviously the Stanley Cups. And I think about, how important he was to the Leafs because he was estranged from the Leafs. And the importance of him coming back into the Leafs fold led me to vote for Dave Keon because his significance was really, really large.
And I voted for Wendell, and this is the one team of the 32. I admit to bias because I'm from Toronto, right? I saw Wendell Clark play at the Gardens as a kid, and he is the one Maple Leaf I can think of that has a 100% approval rating. 100%. Doug Gilmour, not everyone loves maybe the way he left. I love Doug Gilmour.
Sure.
Austin Matthews hasn't won, and there's been some, chatter about whether or not he will win. There's obviously other great Leafs in the past, but I think the way Wendell played and also the way he's given back to the community, he's still here. We've talked about that with other players and other faces of the franchise. He's got the handlebar mustache, tough as nails, 100% approval rating. Again, when you haven't won for 60 years, it's tough. It's tough to pick a player.
Yeah.
And Wendell Clark, I think, represents something that Leaf fans still love.
If Dougie would have played 5 more years,
it may have been him.
It may have been him, the way he was rallied behind in the city.
And to be clear, if Matthews wins, even gets to a cup final, I think it's him.
And the other guy could be, not my roommate, my old teammate, Matt Sundin.
Exactly.
He was a captain forever. Team was very good under his watch. They got to the conference final twice with him. He was stoic and quiet and prideful and excellent. And Wendell would tell you who's a better player. He'd say Matt's was a better player than he was. So could have been him as well. But I think Clarkie, with the way that Toronto cheers for their sports idols, he really resonated with the people of Toronto.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring in our Maple Leaf reporter, Mark Masters. Now, Mark, you're around this team every single day. Are you surprised that our voting has Wendell Clark as the face of the franchise?
I'm not surprised. Wendell Clark was my favorite player growing up in Toronto. I always wore number 17. I always smile when I see him around the rink these days. There's a lot of great options, and because the team hasn't, of course, had the playoff success in recent years, I can understand why there'd be a fractured voting. I voted for Austin Matthews. The talent is indisputable, just broke the franchise goals record, well on his way to topping the all-time points list. And I think because he struggled to lead the team to a playoff breakthrough, that contributes to why he's my vote for the face of the franchise. He's the face of that struggle right now, so that's why I voted for Austin Matthews.
All right, thank you, Mark. There it is. Mark voting for Austin Matthews, but ultimately Wendell Clark, the face of the franchise for the Toronto Maple Leafs.